Welcome to Movie Film. It's episode 341. I am Zachy Hassan. I'm here with Brian Hall.
Hey, how's it going, Zachy?
It's going well, and I just want to remind all our listeners, if you want to hear this episode ad-free, make sure to check out our Patreon page.
That's right, over at patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast. And we have a new fun bonus conversation going up over there also, talking about the box office is back, baby.
That's right. Yeah, we'll allude to that in this episode, but if you want to get the full Monty, so to speak, you got to jump over to our Patreon.
And also, a little tease, we have a bit of a conversation. Is Donald Glover the new Wilford Brimley? Just tune in to find out.
I got to check that out. What's new with you, though? Let's just dispense with the foreplay here. Everybody who's listening, everybody wants to know, is Brian's tooth okay?
I have to say, I said this last time, I think, but I have to thank everybody for reaching out the ways that they did. I was getting, personal notes. My birthday happened in the past week or so, and people were sending me happy birthday messages with big pictures of cartoon teeth, with, faces and holding toothbrushes and stuff. And it was cracking me up and putting me in the best mood. And I really appreciated how thoughtful all of that was. So thank you to everyone who's reached out and shared some of their own stories too, sympathizing. But I'm happy to say I can keep this brief. Most of that drama was that I went through was all done once I got to finally have my root canal. Finally got in, although I will say there was a little scare there because I had to leave work. As some people may remember, I started a new gig. So it's not something that you want to keep leaving, for all these appointments when you're just trying to get started and get to know everybody and do your thing. And I had to leave for a second time to get this root canal. So I'm like, okay, hurrying across town, sitting in the chair. And they're like, okay, first, we're going to do the consult. And I was like, consult? I was like, I've been through this with 2 or 3 other people. We know what the problem is. I thought this was the root canal. I'm like, we are going to do the root canal today, correct? And they're like, well, yeah, if you'd like to. I was like, yeah, I'd like to. I've been living with this pain. Literally, it was almost 3 weeks at this point. And so anyway, long story short, I got the root canal. I'm just feeling really thankful to be on the other side of this and appreciating what it feels like to feel normal again. So
I'm glad to hear it. Glad you're back to pulling locomotives with your teeth, as you tend to do.
Exactly.
That's your when you're not on mic with us.
What happened to all those old timey strength displays? People pulling tractors or trains with their teeth and shooting cannonballs into their stomachs and stuff.
Well, I think we're at a point where we realize that's not strong. That's just stupid.
Right? Yeah, you're right.
I think society sort of hit that point.
Yeah.
But you little leaguers, take care of your teeth. That's the takeaway.
Yeah.
And keep it tuned to Movie Film, because before long I'll be talking about my cataract.
Right.
Two men growing old. That's the subtitle of the Movie Film show.
I'm surprised it took us this long to realize that that's what this show really is, with talk of entertainment peppered in between.
Between talk of back pain and blurry vision and those young people.
Right. But and I've mentioned this a couple episodes also. But yes, I'm working on this gig. It's a temporary thing, but the hours are pretty long, and I had to work weekends a little bit, and so that's why the show is coming maybe a couple days later than usual. That is temporary, but I just wanted to let people know that that's why that's the case. And but still loving that Zachy's been so flexible to find time in his schedule to get these things recorded when we can and still get them out. So we're still making the donuts.
It's all good, man. But now that said, you have been making time to watch some movies.
Yes, the hours have been getting better. And yes, well, I want to say first that I was able to see Project Hail Mary again. Because my brother and I both read the book and kind of, bonded over it a little bit and enjoyed that. And so I saw it so you and I could talk about it, but I really, really wanted to see it with him and hear his thoughts. And so I was able to see it a second time. He liked it.
Mhm.
And I also, the first time I was watching it, I was thinking a lot about the book.
Sure.
And making comparisons and thinking, ooh, that thing's coming up. I can't wait to see how they do that. And then there were moments also where I thought, oh, that was a little more dramatic in the book, and it was a little more drawn out because, of course, you can spend more time on certain things. And I wondered how certain moments played in the movie when they felt a little sped up to me.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'm completely, my brain is split between thinking about the book and the movie as I'm watching this. I'm looking forward to watching this a second time where I'm only thinking about the movie and taking it on its own terms. And
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it all over again. And I really think they did an excellent job making it its own thing and removing certain things, condensing things. I thought it all played wonderfully, and I enjoyed it just as much the second time. So it's made me really happy to see such a good movie and a really nice movie, with a good heart, doing so well and being beloved by so many people.
Doing very well, which I have to imagine that for Amazon MGM.
Oh yeah.
That this has to be something that they're strongly thinking about in terms of the cultural capital they're buying by putting this thing in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, the whole zeitgeist, had been shifting towards streaming, and yet I think, here we are three weeks into a release, and people are still talking about Project Hail Mary. That would not be the case likely in the same way if it just went straight to streaming.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was at my desk, and a couple people came out of their offices to talk about seeing it that weekend, and none of them had read the book.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, I cried. Like I cried a couple times, and other people like, oh yeah, it was so exciting in this part. Like a water cooler movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
all different types of people all came together either because they read the book or they heard it was good, and there was good word of mouth. And so they went out and saw it and then wanted to talk about it with everyone. So yeah, it feels strangely old school in a way.
What a concept.
Yeah, but I hope, like you said, I hope studios take note of that. I also have to say, one of our listeners, JJ Hodges, he wrote me directly, and he said, for a second, I thought you were the voice of Rocky in Project Hail Mary. He sounded like you, and I was like, that's Brian. I was like, oh, that's funny. I kind of want to hear it again now.
That's high praise.
Amaze. Yeah.
I should say real quick. All my kids went to see it. They all enjoyed it. My wife went to see it. She liked it. So I mean, definitely a 4-quadrant experience here. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, my parents saw it, and then we had a phone call so they could give me their reviews. And my dad liked it, but my mom especially liked it because she had read the book. Mm-hmm. And I have to share something my dad said that cracked me up. He goes, "Oh, are you looking forward to the Melatonin Man?" And I was like, "What? Like, is that a preview or like was that in the movie? I don't understand." He goes, "The Melatonin Man in Yoda." I was like, oh, the Mandalorian. The Melatonin Man.
I'm going to call it that now.
Yeah. I thought that was so funny.
It should have been called The Melatonin Man and Baby Yoda.
I think so.
That's $1 billion off the top that Disney is leaving on the table.
I agree. But it hooked my dad.
Hey, that's something.
Melatonin Man. Well, anyway, I saw 2 things that I want to talk about that I thought were really interesting. I do want to do one quick follow-up. I mentioned that I was watching Company Retreat on Amazon Prime, which is the follow-up to that show Jury Duty, which is basically there's like one real person put into a situation where everyone around him, they're all actors.
Right.
And they're behaving in funny sorts of ways, and you just observe this person and how they interact with everybody. And I really like Jury Duty. Company Retreat, I enjoyed the first 1 or 2 episodes, but it feels a little as I watch more, I'm noticing it feels a little bit different, where jury duty is very contained, and it's in a very specific scenario that we all have to experience, where you go to a room, you leave everything you know, and you are stuck in a room with a bunch of strangers. You know what I mean? In a waiting room or a courtroom. And so there's just I don't know, like a real relatability and staleness to it. And so you can have fun with that staleness and how different people would behave with you in that setting. And Company Retreat is a more expansive, like in scope, because it's not stuck to one location, a courthouse. It is at like a campgrounds basically. And so people can wander around, and you have all these different sorts of characters, and they have to, I don't know, they can be a little bit more elaborate in their scenarios.
Okay.
Because they're not confined to a waiting room or a courtroom. And there are pros and cons to that, I think. Because in a way, now it's almost become like a sitcom. Like it almost feels like The Office.
I see.
And so they've populated it with a lot more people, a lot more wacky characters, and you can create like these bigger, more elaborate scenarios. And I think some of them are funny, and then some of them feel almost like a little lesser than Office plots.
I see. Oh, gotcha.
So I found myself, as I was going along, like a little less charmed by it occasionally than I was with jury duty. But I do find myself, when it's 11 at night and I've only got about 20 minutes left before I'm going to fall asleep, I'm like, oh well, I may as well watch another one of these, and it's entertaining enough. But I recommended it the first week, and I do still think it's cute and fun and fun enough. But I don't know, something about making it a little bit bigger and building it out and having the characters act a little bigger and the scenarios become a little bigger felt a little less charming to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, just wanted to note that in case anyone was like following my recommendation.
I think that was understandable, in that the first season of Jury Duty was such a specific, not just setup, but sort of a mix of ingredients. It had the benefit of surprise on its side,
for sure.
And any follow-up, I mean, I would have reflexively been like, don't do a follow-up, or don't call it Jury Duty, because you're inviting unfair comparisons,
right?
But it is something I do plan to check out at some point.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm saying too, I'm trying to be very clear, but like the first one felt more like a hidden camera experiment in the most.
This feels more scripted.
This feels a little more scripted, more like someone dropped into a situational comedy.
Yeah. Okay.
For better or for worse.
Yeah.
From moment to moment.
Gotcha. Okay.
But anyway, so I want to talk about two movies. And these are two very, very unique movies, and movies that are very difficult to talk about.
Cool.
Because I do not want to spoil them. I went into both of them knowing very little, and I am so grateful that I did. So I'm going to do my best to talk about them, but not ruin anyone's experiences, so they can have the same experience I did watching them. But first off, I want to talk about, it's called Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. And basically what this is, I think in Canada, this started as a web series and then it became a TV show. And it's about these two guys. Their dream is to play a concert at this like mid-sized theater.
Okay.
Somewhere in Canada. So that's kind of almost like a bit of the joke, right? They're not trying to play Madison Square Garden or something. They just want to, their dream is to play this like kind of small theater that they could probably play if they wanted. And so I guess that's I haven't watched the show, but I guess that's the pinky in the brain. We're going to take over the world. And then they come up with all these different creative ways that they're going to try to do that each episode. So the movie is these guys, I guess the series is from 2008 or somewhere around there. And now it's 2025 or 6 or whatever it is. And they still haven't played. And so now they're desperate. And this guy comes up with an idea, and he's like, it's so funny. I don't want to spoil it, but basically it involves time travel.
Okay.
And I also don't want to overhype this movie, but what I will say is if you listen to this show, and Zachy, I'm speaking directly to you, you will love this movie.
Okay.
This is a movie that is so unique and so particularly funny. Its humor is so particular.
Huh.
And it's very like pop culture rich.
Okay.
It is just delightful. Just delightful. And it is so ingenious the way that they clearly have very little budget, but they figure out how to make this time travel movie.
Interesting.
And part of it is them kind of riffing. It feels like that Christopher Guest thing where maybe they have an outline and they're riffing with one another, and you can find them or see them finding these really funny moments and landing on them. And part of the movie is sort of like Borat, where the plot is happening and they need to accomplish something, but they're out on the street interacting with real people who kind of become a part of the plot.
Okay.
And I didn't realize this. They also are integrating old footage from the old show and mixing it into this current story because it involves time travel.
Interesting. Okay.
So when I watched it right off the bat, I was like, this is so funny and so clever. And at the end, like ultimately very touching, about these two good friends. And then when I listened to interviews and I read about it afterwards and learned about all that they had to do, and it took 3 years to make. And I was like, holy cow, I didn't even realize how much of a magic trick I was watching.
Interesting. Okay.
And so it made me excited to watch it all over again. And it's just something for people that have, sensibilities similar to ours. I think people are going to be really charmed by this movie. It's streaming now and you can rent it. And I think at some point it would be really fun to get into spoilers and talk about it, because there's just so many funny, clever bits that I wouldn't dare spoil them here. But it would be fun to laugh about them with you.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely check it out. But I mean, I think what you're saying is enough to get people listening interested. I would imagine.
Yeah. I hope so. So I would definitely recommend people check it out. I would love for people to write in and share their thoughts. And I hope to watch it with you, Zachy, sometime soon and talk about it.
Here's hoping we get that chance. Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, another movie that's very difficult to talk about. I saw The Drama.
Yes.
Which stars Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. And I will read the IMDb summary, which says, a happy engaged couple is put to the test when an unexpected turn sends their wedding week off the rails. So I had seen this trailer. Had you seen the trailer?
I have not seen the trailer.
It's, it's basically them and they're doing, their engagement photos, and the photographer is trying to get them to smile, but they can't smile. There's something weird going on between them, and the photographer is getting a little like, I mean, smile like one another, and so you sense there's some sort of drama happening between them. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe, like I don't get it, like I don't know what this is about, and I don't necessarily want to watch people being kind of miserable for 2 hours, and like a relationship falling apart and everything. And then I learned what the movie was about. And I got immediately interested. And I feel like the plot is kind of a spoiler.
Interesting.
So do you know what it's about?
Broadly.
So I'll say half of it, which is basically, so this couple, they're out with their two best friends and they're drinking a little bit, and they start talking about the worst things they've ever done. And so one person is like, oh, well, I cyberbullied someone once and I regret it. I was a teenager. And this other girl is like, well, I won't spoil them. But they have these things that are not great. And then you get to Zendaya and she says something and everyone's like, what? And that's the movie.
Okay.
And so it sort of spirals from there. Her, best friend is like, I don't know if I can be friends with you anymore. And Robert Pattinson's character is like, do I even know who you are? Like, who do I even know who you were? Do I know who you are now? Kind of a thing. And it's I feel, I don't want to be like annoying not saying what it is, but I do feel, I feel like of two minds. One, it is kind of nice going in and not knowing what it is and being surprised by the movie and going on that ride with it. At the same time, it involves a real world issue
Okay.
that I think many people are very sensitive about, particularly in the United States of America. And I wonder if some people will go in and feel a little blindsided by it because they think they're going in to see this sort of romantic comedy / drama, right? And so once that thing happens and it's something that people can't get out of their minds, you know, the movie is like becomes a little bit of a dark comedy.
So before you proceed, let me ask you: is this something where we want to set expectations for the reveal, so that people recognize that thing? It's about the drama that ensues after, and not the reveal itself.
Correct. The reveal
right.
is in the first act,
right? So that people aren't like, "Oh, is that it?" Do you get what
That's
I'm saying?
not the ending of the movie,
Right?
Great point. Great point. And yes, that's the setup. And then the rest of the movie is everyone wrestling with this.
Okay.
And in the week that's before the wedding.
Right.
And so it was interesting because I was in a full theater, which was really amazing, actually, especially for this movie and especially on a weekend where Super Mario Galaxy is coming out. And you could tell there was like nervous laughter for a lot of this movie. And I will say even, halfway through, I started to wonder if this premise was enough for a whole movie.
Okay.
Or if this was more like, like a 30-minute, 45-minute idea stretched to feature length. But the movie goes through these different sort of movements where in the middle, it becomes this sort of uncomfortable sort of thing and what's going on in everyone's minds and how they wish people would react, how they actually react. And then as it gets into the third act, it just turns into almost like a farce where it's just like all these things are going wrong and everything is coming to a head. And there was a moment in the middle that was so shocking, or not shocking, sorry. At the end, there's something very shocking that my whole theater jumped.
Okay.
Which was really fun. And in the middle, there was a joke when things were very uncomfortable, and I laughed. I snorted, actually. I snorted really loud.
Okay.
And everyone else in the theater was just doing these like little nervous titters. And I was like, oh, geez. Like, what's this say about me? But anyway, by the end, it was kind of interesting. You could feel the theater uncomfortable and then slowly start to get on its way, the movie's wave. And then by the end, just reacting to every big thing that was happening. And this movie is definitely not for everyone. And if you do feel like maybe you're sensitive about certain topics, like, things could be triggering, I would suggest maybe going to Wikipedia and seeing what the plot is. But I had forgotten, and I remembered halfway through that this movie is from the director of Dream Scenario.
Okay.
I think he's Norwegian, and that was that movie where Nicolas Cage, for some reason, he's a real person, but he is appearing in people's dreams around the world.
Right. And
it's a very uncomfortable, dreamlike sort of vibe in that movie. So it's sort of like Being John Malkovich-ish, but even more dreamlike and kind of unnerving. And this movie isn't to that degree of that, but it definitely is in its DNA.
Okay.
And so I was like, the best way to describe this is Meet the Parents from the director of Dream Scenario. So
I love it.
I mean, it's as weird as that sounds.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll make some people uncomfortable, but I walked out of it like, you and I, we watch so many movies.
Yeah.
We've seen so many stories, and there are few things as thrilling as watching a story I have not seen before, and I have no idea where it's going. And it's making me uncomfortable, and it's also making me laugh. And it's also at times kind of heartbreaking and also sweet. So, I mean, I don't know that it came together in a perfect sort of form necessarily.
Yeah.
Like you could say, oh, well, the pacing here and then whatever. But I found the experience of watching this movie really satisfying. Like I felt like I saw something new and weird and that I immediately wanted to talk about when it was done.
Okay.
So I hope all that makes sense and people will decide if that feels right for them, maybe not for them, or like that is definitely for me. But I really enjoyed the drama. I will say I saw it with a friend and he was feeling, I would say, a little mixed, maybe
Okay.
even leaning negative.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought up a good point, and I've seen this made by other people, which is if you're going to bring this real world horror into a story, do you have a responsibility to actually have some sort of statement about it?
Right.
Or is it maybe irresponsible to just have that be a part of a plot so you can have characters spin out into sort of a dark comedy
Mm-hmm.
and then not really comment on that?
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest, but so when it ended, he was like, there were moments I kind of enjoyed, but what was the point? And I'm of two minds. I can appreciate that maybe it could have had more of a statement. And at the same time, does Meet the Parents have a statement? No. You know what I mean? Like it's just a crazy scenario, and it's interesting watching these people spin out in a certain sort of way and then try to find their way back. So to me, that's what this was. But I can completely appreciate that the subject matter might make some people uncomfortable and also make people think like, well, doesn't something like that need to have a point?
Right.
So anyway, I hope this makes sense. When people watch it, hopefully, and if they hear me say this, it'll make a lot more sense. But I ultimately appreciated how unique and original and strange and entertaining it was. So I recommend the drama with a lot of asterisks. So.
All right, that's fair. Well, in that vein, and by in that vein, I mean not at all in that vein, I watched the Super Mario Galaxy movie.
I'm very curious. I mean, I think both you and I were a little like, okay, like the first one was fine. We wanted a little more out of it because we grew up with Mario, but it ultimately felt a little bit underwhelming. But seeing new Mario still makes me a little giddy.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. I mean, is this similar? Is it better? Is it worse?
So I did not like the first Mario movie.
Yeah.
And I did not like this one.
Oh.
And it's beautifully animated. I think it's nice to look at.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a vapid nothing of an experience, and that what frustrates me. And I know people are like, "Oh, Zach, what are you expecting? It's Mario. What are you expecting out of this movie?" And I'm like, well, we have hoppers in theaters right now. That shows the type of thing you can do with animation,
Mm-hmm.
And you say, "Oh, well, this is a franchise movie." It's like, okay, well, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is like one of the best animated movies of the 2020s.
Right?
Like there is a precedent here. Oh, it's a video game movie. Okay, we got 3 Sonic movies that are all pretty darn good.
And it's funny too. I didn't really grow up with Sonic like I
Right.
did with Mario.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed those movies.
Yeah.
Because he's a fun character and they've come up with some fun stories.
Right. So, here's my feeling on this. Like, I'm not going to dig in my heels on this. I'm just like, I didn't like it. It's not for me. And I've laid out my case in the paper if anybody wants to read it at the Chronicle. I will say it's making a lot of money at the box office, and
Sure.
instead of me being like, "Oh, this is friggin' bullshit," people just show up for shit. You know what? People are going to the theater. That makes me happy. I'm glad it's something people are going with their families to, and that's just where I'm at with this. I'm not poo-pooing any movie being successful at the theaters, because any movie that's successful at the theaters is good for the industry. And I have to say, I mean, Chris Pratt as Mario like does absolutely nothing for me. I really don't understand why he's in that role.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this conversation and I don't disagree, where animated movies feel this need to cast movie stars versus professional voice actors,
Right.
right? Who might bring a little more personality and verve and specificity to these characters,
Right.
right?
Yeah, but I mean, look, Chris Pratt it was fine in the Lego movies.
Sure. Oh
Right.
yeah, and in Onward also, which
And
I
in
like.
Onward, yeah. So it's not even like I don't think he's the instinct to cast him in a voice role is not bad. But between this and Garfield, I'm like, guys, Chris Pratt doesn't have to do everything,
Well, I would also say in the Lego movie and in Onward, you wanted a Chris Pratt type,
That's very true.
right?
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
a good point. Yeah.
But when we're doing Mario, get me the person that feels most like Mario. It doesn't have to just be, some big famous celebrity.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying I want it's me, Mario. Don't do that.
You want the old 1980s live action
Captain Lou Albano. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, do the Mario.
Exactly. And R.I.P. him and R.I.P. Bob Hoskins. Otherwise, I'd say one of them two guys. But it's like you say Chris Pratt and Charlie Day. You would hope there would be some banter,
Mm,
and there's really not. I think Jack Black is fun as Bowser.
sure.
Jack Black, who exactly a year ago this same weekend was in the Minecraft movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he's got his video game niche,
Yeah, and he's also covering a lot of generations, isn't he?
He really is.
Like he's kind of our generation, and now the younger generation has a relationship with him. It's pretty clever,
right? Yeah. So that's my thoughts on the Super Mario Galaxy movie. There's obviously going to be a third one.
Yeah,
and you know what? I'll go into that one hoping it surprises me. But I think after two at bats, both of which prove successful, even with sort of middling content, I think the die may be cast with this franchise. But we shall see.
That's so disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first one, what I did enjoy about it was everything that I recognized.
Right.
So there'd be, settings or characters or situations where I'm like, oh, it's like the thing I know, and I'm enjoying seeing this in movie form.
Right.
But it was also like there weren't a lot of stakes to it, and the characters didn't feel as, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like their relationships didn't feel as, lived in and as I would have loved, or, like something you expect out of a good Disney movie or a Pixar movie or something like that. So it's just more of that, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. We got Donald Glover as Yoshi.
So what does that sound like? I mean, is he just, I don't even know does Yoshi talk much?
Well, think Vin Diesel's Groot by way of Slimer from the old Ghostbusters cartoon.
Copy that.
And that's Donald Glover as Yoshi.
Which is cool. And interesting, and does make me curious to hear it. And then at the same time, like, man, they just shelled out. It's like, yeah, Donald Glover as Yoshi. Like,
yeah, I mean, it could have been me,
Right.
We didn't need to rope in the Gambino, but there he is.
But then again, I mean, and it's all over my algorithm, but I am seeing this press tour,
and that's really what it comes
like crazy, and that's what it is, right? I'm seeing Jack Black and Anya Taylor-Joy and Donald Glover and Chris Pratt, and everywhere. So that's. You get that.
Yeah. Hey, we got some listener letters, Brian.
No.
Mail call!
I believe you have a letter for me.
18,000 letters, all addressed to Santa Claus.
You got mail.
Well, here's a note we got from Maddie Feck. This is on Facebook, and this is in regards to our last episode. He says, I was listening to this episode while waiting in my car for store pickup of groceries. And when the kid came to my window to verify my pickup, he goes, MovieFilm? So the pod has at least 2 listeners in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Oh, man, that's really exciting. Thank you, Maddie, for sharing that.
That's pretty nuts. This is not the first time we've had somebody share something in this vein, sort of like MovieFilm listeners in the wild.
That was crazy. I remember the other one. It was from Michigan, I want to say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was at a stoplight.
Overheard from the other car.
Man, that's crazy.
It means a lot. It means a lot. And we're really happy that people are out there enjoying this.
Well, in that vein, here's a note I got from Joe Fornerato, who says, "What's up, Zachy and Brian? I recently rewatched all 3 Godfather films for no particular reason, so I went back and listened to your commentary of the first film. It was a great listen, but I particularly enjoyed your defense of part 3. I found these films later in life, so I had only heard that 3 was bad, so I came in with low expectations and thought it was a pretty great ending to the tragedy of Michael Corleone." That's what I'm saying, bro. It's obviously not on par with the first 2, but I don't think it had to be. I know it's a year past 35th anniversary, but maybe you can celebrate the 35th anniversary of the 1991 director's cut and have an excuse to do a commentary on that one. I also have not seen it enough to really know much of the difference between it and Coda, which is the re-edit that Francis Coppola did in what was it, 2020, I think, besides the ending, and wouldn't mind hearing more about why you prefer the original. Or if you prefer to go in order, I wouldn't mind hearing you cover part 2 as well. Hopefully both are on the list either way, and I look forward to waiting to listen one day. I look forward to more episodes each week, and thank you for all the content.
Thank you, first of all, Joe. And when I think of Godfather 3, that is, I know that it has this reputation, but I remember you have always been a defender of it.
I have been a staunch defender, and I defend the theatrical cut. I don't like the Coda edit.
Yeah.
And you know what? I do think we will do the Godfather sequels, right? I mean, it seems we'll get there, right?
I think so.
I think for both of the, anytime it's a longer movie, it becomes like we have to budget time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to. But I mean, gosh, I have plenty to say about both of those movies.
Yeah. I remember really enjoying listening to you talk through Godfather 1 because I like those movies, but I'm not necessarily a student of them. And as long as I've known you, like you really know a lot about the history and you've seen them many, many times. And so it's always fascinating hearing you talk about them.
I love this, man. I've said this before, I got the DVD set in 2001, October of 2001. As soon as it came out, I had never seen those movies. I bought them sight unseen because obviously it's the Godfather films. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, reasonably you can intuit they'll turn out to be good,
Mm-hmm.
And after I watched them, I took all 3 in, and then I took in the commentaries, and then I would just go to Borders and I would buy books about Francis Coppola and about the Godfather film. I mean, just everything. My bookshelf was just full. It had like a Coppola section, because I was just I was like, I want more. I want to know everything about this.
Yeah.
I kind of miss those days, is my point. Barnes and Nobles is making somewhat of a comeback, but not anywhere near me. I miss just going to a great bookstore's film section, film book section, and just like, oh, here's the making of this, and
Yeah, because everything now you just go into Google.
I know,
and Godfather Wikipedia and read someone's condensed, collection of all those things that you got to read. You read the whole interview with all the people who made those things. It's funny. You reminded me of something I had forgotten about. Similar, back in the day when I was in my teens and I wanted to learn how to write a movie, I went to maybe it's Borders. Actually, I went to Borders and I bought the screenplay for Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
Because it's like you had to. Where was I going to get it? I'm sure there wasn't internet at that time, but it wasn't as full of things as it is now. And so I went and bought the published script of Good Will Hunting, and I learned the format. And I remember it had beat in there, which is when a character takes a beat, right. And I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know to Google it. And for a long time, I didn't know what beat meant.
That's so funny,
isn't it? It's just there's something kind of cool about that.
I remember it would have been right around then, by the way. I'll let you finish. But I got the book with the screenplay of Clerks and Chasing Amy.
Yeah, I have that too. Someone gifted me that. I have the very same thing.
That's hilarious.
But wasn't that like kind of magical when you first saw a screenplay like that? It was something you knew backwards and forwards, and then you got to see what the blueprint for that actually looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I love that. I love you in the movie books, and That was your deep dive.
Yeah, right around then, Paul Shirey got me, and I still have it somewhere. It's a book. It's 4 screenplays,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Silence of the Lambs, Thelma and Louise, Terminator 2, and something else I can't remember. But it's the entire screenplays and then analyses of like stylistic techniques and things like that. And that was like that was like Paul got that from me. He's like, if you if you want to get an insight into how to write a script, here you go.
Wow.
And that and like the the Robert Rodriguez book, Rebel Without a Crew, all that stuff. Like, I mean, that was our lifeblood. Again, it was like before so much of this stuff was so easy to access. But above and beyond that, there's just something about having the thing accessible. You just walk to your shelf, you pull it off, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Miss that. All that is to say, sorry, tangent. More Godfather tracks. You don't have to twist my arm, believe me. I think it is a coming. It's just it literally just comes down to us finding when and where to slot those in.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. Thank you for that, Joe. Here's an email we got from Maddie at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. And she says, I just listened to the Scream commentary track and I had to write in to tell my story of my experience with this movie. I'm roughly 10 to 15 years younger than you guys for context, so I missed the initial release in 96 due to being a small child. Therefore, my experience with Scream didn't come until around 2005, I would guesstimate. I thought it was very interesting that you guys discussed where Drew Barrymore was in her career at the time Scream came out, which was very different from where she was by the time I experienced the movie.
Right.
I knew Drew Barrymore as rom-com leading ladies such as The Wedding Singer, Never Been Kissed, Charlie's Angels, etc. So one day after school, when I was flicking through the channels trying to find something to watch, I stopped on a movie that was just starting. I see Drew and think, oh, cool, a Drew Barrymore movie I haven't seen. These were the days before TV Guide, before you could click the info button and find out what you were watching. Instead, you had no choice but to watch several minutes and figure it out for yourself. You might see where this is going. The voice on the phone got steadily creepier, but I told myself this is probably just the popular kids pulling a prank, as they do in teen rom-coms. Then her boyfriend gets slashed open, but it's just fake enough looking that I think maybe they got it in a fight and he's trying to make her regret it by faking his death. At any moment, this is going to be funny, right? Well, no. I watched all the way through to when Drew's guts are hanging from a tree and the title finally appears, Scream. I quietly shut off the TV. To this day, I hate horror movies. Can't imagine why.
Yeah, that'll do it. Your favorite rom-com star being like tormented and then just like gutted.
Yeah. I hope you guys at least get a laugh from my experience. And I will say I finished the commentary. Not scary enough to have to turn it off. Complimentary. Well, thank you, Maddie.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great story. I really like that.
Here's a note we got from Matthew. This is interesting. I don't know if you heard, Brian, but Starfleet Academy, which I talked about a couple episodes back, the second season has not premiered yet. The first season and they shot 2 seasons at once. It got a 2-season pickup, but it's already been announced that it will not continue after the second season.
Okay, I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, so there will be 20 episodes total, and then that'll be done. And so Matthew says, on the subject of Starfleet Academy's cancellation and Alex Kurtzman's franchise tenure at large, I was a 90s kid who grew up loving The Next Generation, Voyager, and even Enterprise, and later, as a 20-something adult, I watched and enjoyed the entirety of the aggressively inclusive series Glee. To me, those two sagas are like two delicious flavors, with 90s Trek being akin to pesto pasta and Glee to peppermint ice cream. Just because I love those two flavors, however, doesn't mean I want a mix of them at the same time, and that's exactly what Kurtzman's work on Trek seemed to prioritize. As Mike Stoklasa of Red Letter Media once said, the J.J. Abrams movies took Star Trek's head out of its ass, but that was what many of its fans liked about it. I'm very curious about your thoughts on all this, Brian, because you're not in any way plugged into Trek in the same way I am anyway.
Yeah, no, this is all kind of interesting to me.
Going by Starfleet Academy's reported ratings, I'm far from the only potential Paramount Plus subscriber who heard about its jokey, hijinks-filled tone and thought, no thanks. I, for one, welcome ambition and complexity in my favorite franchises, from the tense war drama of Deep Space Nine to the grim espionage tales of Andor and the exploration of sexual assault and trauma of Jessica Jones's first season. And by all means, let's have weird experiments now and then, like a rom-com that happens to be set in the Star Wars universe, or a wacky underdog sports team series set in a quiet corner of Star Trek's Federation. But when it comes to said franchise's core elements and highest budgeted efforts, I'm not particularly interested in a show in which Yoda himself participates in a Sith-related cover-up, or a series in which Starfleet Academy cadets mostly goof off and prioritize dating over studies. I think it's reasonable for many fans to ask for a bit more thoughtfulness and, yes, respect from these franchises, and that alone doesn't make them closed-minded bigots. Although mean-spirited fans and drive-by hecklers do exist, when accusations of toxicity and trollery dominate discussions of classic franchises again and again, maybe, just maybe, that's an indication that its stewards could have charted a wiser, more prudent course. Your thoughts? Go ahead, Brian.
I'm curious. Well, I mean, I feel like an outsider in this, but it is interesting to observe.
But I think broadly we're talking about franchises, including Star Wars. So I mean, I'm sure you have thoughts on that as well. But I'm happy to go first if you want.
Well, I mean, yeah, Star Wars has branched out in certain ways, but I don't know that we have gotten the date. You know, like we got the Star Wars Goonies, right? And but I don't know that we've gotten the Star Wars rom-com yet, or the Star Wars teens goofing off kind of series necessarily. And so I'm kind of interested. So Star Trek has gone there. Sounds like to mixed results for people. So you being such a Star Trek fan, I am kind of curious to hear you talk about this a little bit.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Starfleet Academy specifically, I did like it, and I think I said as much on our show. I don't know. You know, one thing I've said is you know, to some extent, I mean, I take these things as they are, not what I wish they'd be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at a show like Starfleet Academy, and there's a little bit of like, well, I don't know that I would have done that or what have you, you know? But I also recognize that not everything is going to be for me with any of these franchises.
Right.
And that has been helpful for me just in general, is being able to say, well, I am a fan of X franchise, but I'm not crazy about this installment or this thing.
Right.
And just leaving it there. Right. I think Matthew's point is a good one, in that there is a tendency to over attribute any critique to people who monetize bad faith arguments.
Totally.
Right. So there is a tendency to be like, oh, you must be, you know, a sexist, homophobic, fill in the blank. Right. And that isn't fair to people who may just not like something. I don't know how to fix that, because I think right, like I think the discourse has gotten really deeply screwed up.
Yep. Where
I don't know how to address that. And so I almost don't, you know, like I think the people can be very transparent in their self-interest in terms of the critiquing, you know, quote unquote woke, you know, just gesture broadly woke, you know. It's very obvious that they're driven. They are either driven by their monetization engine, or they are influenced by somebody driven by their monetization engine. That's very obvious. That all said, I think there are valid critiques of, for example, Starfleet Academy, or for example, Discovery, any of the recent Star Trek shows that are absolutely applicable. I think there are valid critiques, but I'm also of the opinion that, well, not everything has to be for me.
Right.
You know, and this is something I've said many a time, so you know, it's going to sound like I'm repeating myself. I apologize, but I'm like, if I want a Star Trek to make me feel a certain way, I've got plenty of that. And I will always check out something with the Star Trek name on it and hope it speaks to me. If it doesn't, I'll just leave it alone and I'll go back to the stuff that I like. And that's fine. And that goes for Star Wars, any of this. Right? I think that more and more what I'm realizing is we can't expect these corporations to leave an ending alone if there's money to be made.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think that's unreasonable, and we'll talk about that later in the episode. So then it falls on us as the consumers to sort of make our own endings and just be fine with that. Right? Like at some point you say, you know what? Anything beyond this point, it's not really for me, so it's fine. I'll just I don't need it to give me that same feeling.
Right.
It's tough though because there's a general artificiality, because you cannot convince me that the people who are just spitting venom about some of this stuff are actually that upset.
Right. It's that we've talked about this sometimes, that performative,
like YouTube reaction face.
Exactly.
Right?
Like they've already had their reaction because they probably weren't rolling camera.
Right.
When they first learned about some news story. So then it's like they have to set up the camera and put up their ring light and then make sure their background is set up okay. And then and then they hit record and go, oh, I don't believe it. It's all performance. And that's what hooks you, because you're either like, well, what are they reacting to? Or in my case, sometimes I'm like, I hate when people do this. I have to watch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
No matter what, they're finding a way to hook the people who like that thing and don't like that thing. Like,
let me, a thought that occurs to me is 10 years ago, hard to believe, 10 years ago this summer, the Paul Feig Ghostbusters movie came out. And I remember that may have been one of the first times I really saw how ridiculous online discourse has gotten.
Right.
Because the way people spoke about that movie, you'd think it was a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
And I would offer that any genuine view of the movie says, well, it at worst it was not great. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the perfect example for this conversation in many ways, because I didn't necessarily love that movie, but I always felt like I had to be like, I didn't like it, but I don't hate women. And I don't agree with all this toxic crap on the internet. Yeah. But yes, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like I had to explain.
Right. So I mean, that's exactly it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's just broadly, like that's where so much of this weird intersection between monetized anger, possessive, aggressive fandom, and in all of these different vectors. And it makes it impossible. I mean, again, just looking at Star Trek, right? Okay, Kurtzman, most likely his tenure is probably going to be up next year. Well, what makes anyone think whoever comes in next is going to have an easier go of it? Right? Because here's the problem, right? And this is, I'm not disputing any of what Matthew's saying. I think he is correct in this regard, in that there is nuance to this discussion, right? But guess what? I remember when the Next Generation started and all, what we now call woke, all of those accusations applied to Next Generation. I remember when Deep Space Nine started. Oh, politically correct. Why do you have to have a black captain? I remember that. I remember when Voyager started. Oh, politically correct. Why is there a woman captain? Like I've lived through all of this. We can't have a big manly man macho like Captain Kirk. We got to have all these wishy-washy, Captain Picard. He's he has to be like a 90s man. I mean, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
And of course, the most ironic thing of all this is like, the original Star Trek was plenty woke for its time. Right. So to some extent, there has always been this element, but there is this algorithmic booster rocket that's been strapped to a lot of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, again,
and a lot of people jumping onto that rocket who don't even feel that way, but realize there's an opportunity.
That's the thing. It's like
to get eyeballs on their pages, earn some money.
How upset are you really? You know,
Right.
And I think, you know, he was referring to the Yoda thing, which is kind of the acolyte, you know.
See, I thought that was a made up example.
No, that's a reference to the acolyte, and I don't remember the specifics exactly of how that all pans out. But I mean, it was something where, for me, when I saw that happen, I mean, I didn't read too much into it beyond, well, this is a story that's gonna, you know, had the show continued, there would have been some, you know, delving into that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at something like the acolyte, right? I'm like, look, I thought, I said it before, I thought the show was fine. I didn't love it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fine, but I was like, well, here's some more story elements for somebody to play with down the line.
Sure.
And Star Wars, again, I'm not expecting anything out of that franchise that's gonna be what those original 3 movies are.
Right.
But to me, that's no different than I didn't read the novels for decades.
Sure.
Right? Like pre-Disney, Star Wars did continue in the mythology, I mean, past Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pay attention to any of that because for me, I was like, well, Return of the Jedi is where it ended for me.
Mm-hmm. I was like that too.
Yeah. And we still have that option.
And by the way, I never looked down on it.
No, but it's just like how much time do you have? I mean, you said yourself, right, that your brother has been reading the Timothy Zahn books and he enjoyed them quite a bit.
And
right?
He's gotten so deep now. He reads so many of the Star Wars books. He loves them.
See, and that's a great example, right? Because those books, which all have, they now have the Legends branding on them.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not real. Yeah, well, the words are real. The books are real. You can read them, enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
So who cares?
Right.
None of it is real. It's as real as you want it to be.
Right.
So my point is, it's complicated.
Yeah. To sum it all up, it's complicated.
It's tricky. I don't envy what Dave Filoni is going to have to deal with.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't envy with again whoever comes after Alex Kurtzman because I remember, because Rick Berman, who was in charge of the previous era of Star Trek, all the shit that he took. I remember when Enterprise first started. I remember because I watched that show and I enjoyed that show, but it's a prequel to the original show. And people are like, oh, this is bullshit. It's not canon. I remember when the finale aired, people were like, I want the finale to be erasing the show from canon. That's what adults said, Right now, oh no, Enterprise, that was like part of that great era. I'm like, so look, I've lived through all of this.
Yeah.
I was there, Gandalf. I saw when the courage of men failed. Speaking of, we'll talk about that in just a second too.
Yeah.
Nothing ends, so you have to find your own endpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm perfectly happy with again most of the Star Trek stuff since Discovery I have not seen,
mm-hmm.
and it's not for lack of interest, or it's lack of time.
Sure.
And so I just I just fell away.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I specifically have an assignment to write about it, then I go in and So there.
Yeah, but it's it's a Pandora's box sort of thing. I mean, it really all comes back to the internet, right? Where, to your point, this has always been around, right?
Yeah.
People have always been upset by things, but they would write a letter to the editor in a comic book, or say that they don't want Michael Keaton to be Batman, and a newspaper might print it or something. But now there's a megaphone for every type of voice, good, bad, and ugly.
Right.
And as social media has continued to evolve, there is profits to be made.
Right.
And by getting eyeballs. And so, that just invites a lot of just manufactured outrage. And that outrage makes people who are happy with the thing upset. It makes people who didn't realize they were upset.
Yeah.
and the people who are already upset, even more upset. And I really don't know what you do to try to to tame this a little bit. I don't know. Like maybe it all smooths out in 30 years or 50 years or something because we're aware of it in a way. Like we're still in the infancy of all of this.
Right.
And navigating all of this and experiencing all of this. So maybe at some point we adapt to it a little bit and start to learn which voices to tune out and what feels false, and we don't want to accept false things anymore. I don't know.
Well, I also think fundamentally that like we weren't meant to follow these fictional worlds forever, right? Like there was meant to be kind of our own shelf life for, okay, I'm into this for a certain amount of time. And then I move on to other things.
Sure.
Right. And there has to be an understanding that the longer you're in it, you don't gain seniority. You don't get to say, oh, well, I've been around since the 1980s. So you have to give me the stories I want. It's like, no, these stories adapt for the times that they're in, and you can either choose to remain on board or not.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Right. It's like comic books, right? Like I read comic books regularly up until, my 30s, maybe, right around the time I was 30. And then I just kind of fell away. Okay. And again, it was no break. It was no like, that's it, I'm not doing it. But it's like, by then I had kids and I was just busy, and it became something that was not something I felt I was missing anything by not keeping up with.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's been, the last time I bought, I don't know, a new Spider-Man comic book off the rack was, like 2009 or 10 or something, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's like 16 years ago. A whole bunch of stuff has happened since then.
Right. So
sometimes something will cross my radar. Oh, this character did this in the new Spider-Man. I'm like, I don't know any of what that is.
Mm.
And then, some out of curiosity, I'll go to Wiki and I'll be like, wow, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. But I'm not like stewing over it because I'm like, well, I'm not the current readers are the audience for that.
Right.
And then eventually, I mean, this is all meant to entertain you, right? So you shouldn't be hate watching. You shouldn't be hate reading. If you dislike a thing, you move on to something that you do like and you cherish the memories of that thing that you liked.
Right.
Right. At this point, if you're still watching The Simpsons, it should be because you like The Simpsons.
Right. Right.
You shouldn't be hate watching it. You should be like, it's not for me anymore. And right.
Mm-hmm.
Any of this stuff. So that's the challenge.
And, that's been going on forever with comic books, right? Like they need to have new issues. And so people who are maybe conditioned to see a lot of change because that thing needs to continue, or, it makes me think of like soap operas too, where it's like they got to be there 5 days a week. So people get used to like, I don't like this plot line, but something else will come along, eventually. But this is kind of new to a lot of these properties. For a while, Star Wars was just a limited amount of stories for many people reading the books, right? Or Lord of the Rings was just Lord of the Rings, But now with streaming services and people just really trying to mine IP in a way that they haven't really been mined into before, something that was sort of sacrosanct or something for the longest time, now those fans are having to deal with a lot of new stories in that universe all at once.
Yeah.
And so it's just a whole new thing. Like they didn't have the conditioning that you had where, well, Spider-Man changes every several years and that's just how it kind of goes. Does that make sense?
And no, that's the issue, right? Like,
yeah.
At what point do you make that decision? Like it's not for me anymore.
Yeah, but it's like new for these properties, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and so there's just been these really strong reactions all
strong
across
reactions.
The board.
And I guess, but just circling back to the broader point, I don't know if there's any way to even parse the phony reactions from the genuine reactions.
I know.
And that's not diminishing the genuine reactions, which I think Matthew is absolutely right to say. I don't know. We don't have a colander to separate
Strain.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
But hey, let's here's another letter about a less fraught topic. This is from Terrence, who messaged me on Twitter. He says, "Hi Zachy, with the 10th anniversary of Batman versus Superman." Damn it!
I almost wondered. I was like, "What's this?"
Batman vs Superman upon us, and the discourse taking over social media again. It never left. I have to ask, what is your opinion on it 10 years later? I know you weren't a fan when it came out, but has your mind changed with time? Full disclosure, I'm a big fan of Snyder's DC films and would have loved to see them continue, but I like Gunn's Superman and look forward to the sequel. See, we do exist. Keep up the great work, Terrence. Brian, Batman versus Superman.
Dude, I was like, I'm going to step out for 5 minutes. Zachy, you take over.
I will. I strongly disliked it when it came out. That was 10 years ago. I will say at this point, 10 years later, I honestly have no strong opinions about it anymore. I revisited it. Must have been 5 years ago, right? For whenever the Snyder cut of Justice League came out.
Okay.
And I really liked Snyder's Justice League. And in that sense, I liked Batman versus Superman, its place as like the middle chapter leading up to that. I watched the extended version. It's not my favorite version of those characters, but it's just another version. So I don't, I know that, and I know we got lots of listeners who love it, who love those films. And you know what? I'm glad, like sincerely, I'm not being condescending. I'm glad you have that. I'm glad you have that trilogy, because I think it works as a pretty great trilogy. It's not something I've revisited much. I have revisited Snyder's Justice League since then, and I do enjoy that. But I think Batman versus Superman to me was just a little too. It was a little too dour. It was not my preferred vision of that universe. But that's me. I feel like I'm walking through a minefield.
No, well, I don't know. I've got to say, I like that. I think this show, we just love stuff, right? And we like celebrating the stuff that we like. And when there are things that we don't like, I think that we both feel comfortable saying like, well, this didn't work for me. Here's why. But you know what? This worked for a lot of people, and this makes me really happy for them. Like that's how I would like all of us to kind of exist with one another. And I feel like that's kind of basically what you just said right now. And I was thinking like, yeah, I just feel like that's the perfect response to anything, really. For me, I remember there were like parts of it I liked, and I wasn't so sure about it as a whole. I haven't seen it since the extended version came out many years ago.
Yeah.
And but it just like every version of Batman, we've talked about this before. I think when it's the new thing, it feels like, well, this is Batman now. So what do you think of Batman, period? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, like I kind of have things that I liked or connected with more in the past. And, so I'm not so sure how I feel about this one. There's some things I like, maybe some things that I'm just not connecting with. But as time marches on, and then we get another Batman, we get the Pattinson Batman, it's another flavor of Batman on the shelf you can, select when you're in the mood for it.
Yeah.
And so there's part of me that thinks I might like enjoy it if I were to pluck it tonight and watch that take of Batman that I'm not as familiar with and go, oh, this isn't Batman, period.
Yeah.
This is a Batman. And tonight I'm in the mood for something that feels operatic and dark and brooding, especially brooding. And,
Yeah.
So
wait, you're telling me that even the Batman is a Batman?
Right. Yeah, right.
I don't understand.
Yeah, think about it. So I don't even just thinking about it. I haven't watched it in so long. I feel like it would be kind of fun to revisit. So
yeah, I think that one of my clearest memories is rolling right into Snyder's Justice League right after watching the extended cut of Batman vs Superman. That was a fun experience,
Right.
But again, it's just here's the other side of this is that we're very fortunate because the listeners of this show who are fans of the Snyderverse and they're great folks. We know because they write to us all the time. So that's why I'm just like, hey man, you got your thing. I'm glad you got it. Some of these folks on the internet who to this day they have everything invested in the Snyderverse. It's freaking weird. It really is like because their whole deal is like, all of the new stuff is going to flop and then they're going to go right back to Zack Snyder. And it's odd behavior.
It's odd behavior, but I feel like it's across the spectrum these days. It is like a symptom of this moment where everyone feels like their thing is their entire identity, whether it's politics or their favorite Batman or something. It's just people get really, really deeply, personally invested in these things. And it's like part of who they are or something in a way that I just feel like I don't remember this as much.
See,
years ago.
I think about this in terms of like, what am I owed as an audience member? I don't think I'm owed anything, right? Like the stuff comes across my radar. I either like it or I don't. And sometimes stuff I like doesn't do well enough to warrant a follow-up. And then I just get on with my life. Sometimes stuff I don't like does well enough to warrant a follow-up. And even still, I get on with my life. Right?
Yeah.
And, like, I'll give you an example. In 2001, the Planet of the Apes movie came out, the Tim Burton one.
Right.
And man, I had a lot of hopes riding on that movie. I went through my stages of it's still good.
You sure?
It was not good. And you know what? Whatever, right? It's like nothing that movie did or didn't do could affect my relationship with the previous films. And then it just so happened that 10 years later, they came back and restarted the franchise and it ended up pretty good. But let's say hypothetically that restart was not something I liked and it still ended up doing well enough to warrant whatever they're doing right now. I wouldn't be sitting here like gritting my teeth and pissed off. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd just be like, well,
let that go.
Yeah. I'd be like, well, that's not the version that I like. And that's it.
Right. And you would continue to go back and watch the ones that you do like.
I watched just by random chance on Friday, I had this urge. I was like, yeah, I feel like watching Planet of the Apes. And I will put it on. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you know, he was on Earth the whole time. It's pretty crazy. And then just by chance, I was looking something up on Wikipedia. And wouldn't you know, the movie was released in theaters on that very same date in 1968. I had no idea.
Wow, it was like calling to you.
That's what I'm saying. It was like, it was like there's just something, something in my DNA that pulled me to that moment, right?
It's like the Manhattan in Watchmen, right, where it's like, it's 1968. Planet of the Apes calls to the people it connects with. It's 2026. It's the same date. It calls to the people it connects with.
But see, that's the thing, right? Like nothing that happens with the franchise at this point, whether good or bad, is going to alter my relationship with that original movie.
Yeah.
Again, it just so happens that I've been enjoying these new films. So things are working out great for me, but I'm not naive enough to think that'll always be the case.
Can I ask you a question?
You may.
So speaking of Batman, I just love Batman, period. And
Sure.
There are ones that I like more than others. And like I said, as there continues to be more of them, I can tolerate ones that I didn't feel a lot for more now because it's just a different flavor. It's like, well, I don't watch this one as much. So we've talked about this, like Batman and Robin, I really, really did not like back in the day because that was Batman now.
Yeah.
And I wasn't very happy about it. But now that's just a Batman on the shelf. And sometimes it is fun, if it's on HBO or something, going like, oh, this is that goofy one. Like, let's spend some time here, and
Yeah.
you can kind of laugh at it, laugh with it.
Right.
And that's a Batman. And then I can always go back to the Dark Knight if I want, or Batman 89 or whatever.
Yeah.
So for you in Planet of the Apes, do you ever feel an impulse to watch the Burton one, knowing that you don't necessarily love it, but it is a Planet of the Apes and you don't know it as well? Like, do you ever, you know what I mean? Do you
Yeah.
ever go, oh, well, this is the Batman and Robin of Planet of the Apes for me, but yeah.
Yeah. So, no, that's a good question. So the last time I saw it was last year or 2 years ago when in the lead up to the new movie. And that was because my kids had not seen it. And so they were like, oh, can we watch that one? I was like, yeah, sure. And before the time I saw it before that was with you when we did our commentary track. So it's certainly not a movie I go back to often. I mean, I'm not opposed to its existence in that regard. Like, it's just another one, right? But yeah, to me, it's part of the catalog. On Vudu, they have like the bundle, a 10 movie bundle. It's like the 5 original ones, the 4 new ones, and then the Burton one right in the middle. And I'm like, hey, it's kind of to your point, right? It's another toy in the chest, and you make of it what you will,
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it does.
People obviously are very possessive of their quote unquote their version of whatever. I'm not denigrating that at all because I understand that. I am saying how much can we cling to that? Like, how much are we owed just because we feel possessive of a thing, right?
Sure.
Look, 3 years ago, The Flash came out, right? And for me, I mean, I like the movie. I still like it. I haven't revisited it a ton, but really the marquee impact of the movie was not about the Flash. It was about Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, right? So DC initially had plans to do more with Keaton as Batman, right?
Right.
And they ended up not doing that. That's kind of a bummer. I think we've talked about it before, like that Batgirl movie, which exists. We got Keaton as Batman. It's going to sit in a drawer forever. But all of that notwithstanding, I look at The Flash and I'm like, hey, we got to revisit 30 years later our Batman. We got to spend a little more time with him. What a gift.
Yeah.
Something I never would have expected, and I liked what they did with him. I think it honored his iteration of the character, and I'm perfectly fine. If we never see him again, it's fine with me.
Sure.
Doesn't matter, because that was mine, And I think there's something freeing about that, about just being like, well, this is my one, and I'll always have something special with this, and I'll be able to take everything on its own terms, but I don't need to measure it against that thing that I love so much.
Yeah.
Because it's never going to be that.
Right.
So there.
Yeah.
All right. We've solved it, everybody. Thank you. But we can bronze this episode. Shoot it into space on a gold disc.
Yeah, that was literally what I was imagining. Put it on that gold disc and shoot. That's hilarious. Along with like some Beatles songs and math equations.
We got this. Hey, do we have our trailer thing yet or no?
No, I've started it. I have a rough version.
Okay,
maybe we can even keep this in. This is a little teaser. I'm working on a trailer's bumper.
Okay,
I pulled some elements, but they need to be honed.
Well, we're not there yet.
Not quite yet.
Well, hey, there's a new trailer. Speaking of everything we've just been talking about, this is actually unplanned.
Yeah, actually, yes.
Kind of works out. So HBO dropped the trailer for their upcoming series, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Ooh, how exotic.
Yeah, this is the new season-long adaptation of the first Harry Potter book. And now this has been a test case for me, because you talk about a pop culture spanning franchise, a multi-generation spanning franchise that I have no emotional investment in whatsoever.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like an observer.
Yeah.
In the most, I'm very happy about that. Like I can just sort of sit this one out and kind of watch another fan base. I don't know, experience this.
Yeah. I mean, just stand to the side as the tomatoes fly back and forth.
Sure.
and that has certainly been the case. So this is the miniseries. Again, the selling point is that instead of whatever 2.5 hours, they're going to spend 10 hours
Mhm.
telling the story of the book, and a lot of money involved. Obviously, this is sort of this convergence of corporate ends and everything, right? You recognize that Warner Brothers wants to continue being in the Harry Potter business.
Mm-hmm. Well, they tried to continue doing that with the Fantastic Beast films.
Yes, that's
which
right.
had their own turbulence. But,
Only 3 of a Plan 5 ended up being made.
Yeah, and just a lot of issues with those things, and it just probably didn't go the way that they had hoped. But like you said, I mean, it's just a very valuable IP that they have in their toy chest. And so what do you do with it next? It's, well, I guess you just start from the beginning again.
The obvious thing that you do is you do a sequel with, like a legacy sequel, Hogwarts Next Generation.
Sure.
With, Daniel Radcliffe and company there to kind of, get the new kids off.
Mm-hmm.
But of course they want, my sense anyway, is they want to maintain some distance from J.K. Rowling.
Sure.
Who's expressed very vigorously some views that are controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And I think J.K. Rowling wants to reclaim those characters from those actors.
Sure.
So this is sort of where all of these multiple ends all coincide.
There's just so much,
right?
So much happening with this. And I do wonder, I don't know this. I'm asking, and you may not know either, but is there a sort of, no, maybe not. I was going to say like a Spider-Man Sony situation where it's like they have to keep making things with this property, or, the rights might
I'm not sure,
actually. I don't know. I wondered if it felt like, ooh, we got to do something with Harry Potter, or I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I that's actually a good question. I don't know. I mean, I would presume that there's some kind of a new deal that Warner Brothers had to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, they dropped this trailer, and I can say again, I want to be very clear. I've actually the first movie is the only one I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw this, and I'm like, well, was there any, like, beyond the mercenary financial reason, was there any reason to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels like that, but less. I don't know.
It did have that strange sort of almost AI feeling, where you're like, I know all of this. These look sort of like the characters I know.
Yeah.
A lot like the settings that I know, but they're different.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's so similar. It almost feels strange. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing a glimpse of something from another multiverse.
Right.
Kind of thing. I'm with you. I don't have a lot of connection with this world or the stories or whatever, the films. So I'm just observing. And frankly, when they air, I'll maybe check out the first episode just out of curiosity. But I do think, well, okay, let's put all the real world complicated issues also aside. I'm just talking about the stories themselves and you know what I'm saying? The J.K. Rowling of it all.
Yeah. There's
certainly that. And for people who feel very strongly about that, I get it. Believe me. So I acknowledge that. But I do think it's kind of interesting, the idea, like you said, they're taking the book, now they have 10 hours to tell this story, and I've seen people point out that there are things in the trailer that are moments they enjoyed in the books that they didn't get to see in the films. I'm like, I get that could be kind of cool.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know, like, we just did this, and they're still beloved and they're not dated, like they don't look like they're from 70 years ago and something that kids would have a hard time watching because they're in black and white or something. So there does feel something like almost a little cynical about it too at the same time.
Right.
I don't know. I'm very curious. I would love for people to write in who are more connected with this. I would want to hear what you think.
That's a great ask. Yeah, I know that, you know, so I like Nick Frost. I like him. I've interviewed him twice. He's just a lovely guy. But I look at him in this and I'm like, yeah, but Robbie Coltrane already did it. Like, and no shade on Nick Frost, but like everything he does is going to be compared negatively to Robbie Coltrane, right?
You can't help but feel like it's an SNL sketch or something.
Yeah.
Like cosplay or.
Well, I saw somebody online who was like, this is what it would be. I felt like if I was watching a trailer for a remake of A New Hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of, that tripped the circuit for me, where I'm like, okay, that's what I'm feeling. And I'm not even invested in this.
That's funny because that's literally, I was talking with someone about this and that's what I said. Because they were saying they were having weird feelings about it. And so I was trying to put it in a context I could understand. And I was like, how do you recast Luke Skywalker and have another person walking out of that hut on Tatooine and looking at the twin suns?
It's not even the recasting. It's having them do the exact same stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like if
that
they
would be
were
challenging for me.
If they were to recast those characters and do something new between, the two trilogies, I'd almost find a way to roll with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of like, oh, now we're going to do a season-long Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, right.
I'd be like, no, you did it already, and it certainly, I mean, it's weird, right? Because like we grew up in the era of like Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz, and not grew up in that we were there when they came out, but like those were those movies that you don't touch.
Yes.
Like they're never gonna. Of course, you don't remake Wizard of Oz. You already did it.
You make Wicked, where it's another story that stands, in another part of the universe as the Wizard of Oz is happening, which is very clever.
Exactly. Or you do The Wiz, which is just totally different.
Right.
And again, Gone with the Wind. Yeah, they did the sequel, but you don't redo Gone with the Wind.
Right.
And so, Harry Potter certainly felt like it was that,
Yeah.
Even Lord of the Rings, for that matter, right?
That would be, those are the same kind of eras, right?
Yeah.
Didn't those come out?
Exactly. I mean, they were within a few weeks of each other.
Yeah, so it'd be very strange for me to just start over and be like, this person is now Frodo, and this person is now Gandalf, and this person, but doing the same thing.
Right.
The same stories, again, just with different people. It feels too close to me.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
The other part of this, and this gets to what you were saying before about, I mean, the Rowling of it all is like that, this is putting money in the pockets of somebody who's using that money to make life demonstrably worse for a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that people have to reckon with also.
Mm-hmm.
How far does your fandom stretch?
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's an interesting element in this that, again, it feels new.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Where all of these actors have to reckon with that. They have to, John Lithgow is Dumbledore, and he's a great actor. I'm sure he'd be a great Dumbledore, but people are going to say, well, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm. And they are. I've seen quotes from him already having to kind of defend why he's involved. And
yeah. And then you've got the racist Harry Potter fans who don't like that Snape is black.
This really is just like all of it, isn't it?
Just everything sucks.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Anyway, so this thing starts in December?
Yeah, something like that. End of the year, November, December.
This is my other thought. This is meant to be an expansive adaptation of each of the books, so you don't leave any of that stuff out. Now, generally speaking, you're looking at between 2 to 3 years between seasons of a streaming series.
Yeah, right.
So these kids are going to be in their late 40s, I think, by the time this whole thing ends, right?
Yes. They must have a plan. I mean, if they were I was gonna say if they were smart, like as if I know, but maybe you do 2 seasons at a time.
Yeah.
You know, like you write 2 seasons at once and shoot them like that, and then get your gap. And I don't know.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked it up. It's Christmas Day, December 25th, 2026. Is when it drops.
Well, this is genuinely, like, folks listening. What are your thoughts on this? We're maybe not the best folks to address it.
And I do want to say this real quick, just because we like getting into the technical things in filmmaking sometimes. But I've seen a lot of people comment on the color palette of this trailer and kind of complaining that it has that new prestige TV era.
Kind of gray.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of, this is in my algorithm, stills of the same scenes, like the kids on the train heading to Hogwarts. And you see that, the one from the original has color and light, and the one from the new one is just very, kind of gray and has like a flat sort of murkiness to all of it. And it's interesting. I mean, I can't say that every era seems to have its color palette. Like I remember when the Transformers movies were coming out in the later aughts, and everything was oversaturated.
Right.
I hated that. Even in the moment, I was like, what are we doing? This looks like someone took like Crayola crayons and like colored in, Ted Turner style, colored over the film here. And I don't know. And I don't love that everything now. This has also come up, I've seen with the trailer for The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Okay.
Where that looks very gray and murky and muddy and like that prestige. This is a new modern prestige movie, and so it's all gray and the colors are muted, and I don't know what the calculus is with that. And I've seen people again do the side by side of Prada 1 versus Prada 2, and it's like, why? This is a movie about fashion and color and vibrancy. Like, why would you tamp all that down? But I don't know if it's the filmmakers. I don't know if it's the studio being like, well, this is what movies look like right now, so we need it to look like what movies look like right now.
Sure.
I don't know, but I don't love it. And I wish that movies would have the freedom to have their own personalities, their own color, visual personalities, score personalities, whatever.
I think bottom line, it's with entertainment, it's just like everything else. There will never be a time that you don't look back at the previous time and be like, man, those were the days.
Yeah, sure.
That's the truism that we're hitting during this discussion.
True. Yeah.
Hey, we got some other news, Brian.
Yeah.
Speaking of those were the days, certainly a face who was a key presence to many of those days that were so good is James Tolkien. Passed away just this past week at age 95, was it?
Yeah, it's 95 or 4, something like that.
He was a quintessential hey that guy. I think people more than likely did not know his name. He was 94, by the way, but everybody knew his face, everybody knew his voice. We all hoped he would call us slackers.
Yep.
Most familiar, I suspect, as Mr. Strickland. I've said before, the first time I knew him was as Detective Lubin in Masters of the Universe.
Yep.
And he was Top Gun. He was Tom Cruise's superior officer. And kind of a nice guy in that movie, I think we said in our commentary track.
Well, it's funny because my memory of that character when I was young, because he's like barking at our hero, is that he's kind of like an antagonist. Right. When you get older, you're like, I don't know, he's kind of an ally in a way. He's got a persona, he's the tough military guy. And he doesn't like putting up with he doesn't like their shenanigans, but damn it, he believes in them.
He doesn't tolerate their tomfoolery.
Yeah.
Or any of those shenanigans. But yeah, I think he played a type, and that's what he was so good at. And it made me happy that all the way up through his 90s, he would show up at conventions and people lined up to have their picture taken with him.
Yeah.
Which, like, you talk about playing a role that assures your immortality, and you get to live long enough to see that immortality.
Yes. What a gift.
Really. Like, I would see constantly, or, friends would post pictures from photo sessions with him, or, he's like pointing his finger in their face, and that's the picture they wanted. I mean, that's great,
Yeah. And his great line from Top Gun, your body's writing checks, your Butt can't cash.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Iconic.
And you know what I love too? When you're talking about the finger pointing and everything, one of my favorite moments in Back to the Future between him and Marty is, when he's calling Marty out in the hallway and saying, no McFly's ever going to amount to anything in Hill Valley. But the way that it's shot is it only makes sense in a frame of a movie. But he's getting closer and closer, and then the tips of their noses touch. Like in real life, that would be insane.
Yeah, he would be backing off, right?
Yeah, but in the movie and the way that it's framed and the way that we're supposed to feel about that character crowding Marty and, possibly could roll over him, just seeing him get so close and their noses touch, it is so funny to me every time. I don't know. But,
yeah, but he was also in Dick Tracy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
A whole bunch of things. And very much an iconic, hey, that guy.
Uh-huh. Yep. And that's what you want to be, right? When you're a character actor like that. There is no one else like you, so we get you.
Right.
You yourself are a type.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually, another passing I wanted to mention real quick was Valerie Perrine. Of course, Miss Tessmacher in the first two Superman films. Academy Award nominated for Lenny. She was 82 years old. And I was doing the math, and I was realizing that in terms of actors who are left from that first Superman movie, at least in terms of speaking parts, we got Mark McClure, played Jimmy Olsen, and that's it.
Wow. Also from Back to the Future.
Also in Back to the Future. Yeah, Sarah Douglas and Jack O'Halloran, who played Ursa and Non. They, of course, they don't have a speaking role in the first film, but they are in it. But, it's crazy. This is something you mentioned recently about how it's like, everybody has a window, and occasionally our windows overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird to look at, like, I've been around long enough to see the entirety of the Superman cast just pass away.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, the work lives on. And this is something that Valerie Perrine herself said, how, like, just because of Superman, like, people will be watching her forever.
Yeah.
And there is something nice about that.
Yeah. There's that beautiful moment that happens in the movie Babylon where Brad Pitt plays a silent film actor, and the movie is silent films are now turning into talkies, and some of the people are not able to make the crossover. People are just choosing new movie stars, and Brad Pitt, his character, a silent film star, is realizing his time may be coming to a close. And there's a gossip.
He's like, why can't I get any jobs?
Exactly. Yeah, he saw it. I'm surprised he wasn't nominated. But no, Jean Smart plays this entertainment reporter, and she writes an article about him, and basically, it's curtains for this actor now.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to her office and calls her out and is like, "How dare you?" And she's like, "Do you realize?"
Why'd you say that about me?
Yes.
Sorry.
Actually, no, this goes, whoa, I just bumped the mic. This goes back to that thing where I was talking about where I wish there was a version of the movie Unfaithful with Gazoo in it. Where it's like, it's a really great adult drama, that really leaves you with things to think about as you go into the parking lot. But like, just the prankster inside of me wishes that there was some weird element in there also, just to like break your brain a bit. So it'd be funny because this moment I'm talking about from Babylon is really profound and really something to think about that you can even apply to your own life in some ways. But it would be really hilarious if they cut it by having Brad Pitt do that voice instead. But basically he calls her out, and it's just like, "How dare you say this about me?" And she's like, "Look, do you realize that you're one of the few people, you exist on film. People know who you are. Long after you're dead, 100 years from now, people are going to turn on your movies and you will flicker back to life. You will just continue to exist." And that's an amazing thing. That's a gift. And so It makes me think of what you just said about what Valerie Perrine said, like these people who do these things that mean something to us, musicians, artists, people, it can extend beyond that. People who design buildings that we continue to enjoy, but it's really interesting the things that we leave behind and how in some ways, more recognizable than others, but the ways that we continue. I mean, that's what Coco was about, basically, right? And that's why I was bawling at the end of that movie. It's a lot to think about.
See, I think an indication of how society has kind of de-evolved is that now we have like online influencers.
Yeah, sure.
And people who are like, hey, I live in a high rise. The great thing about a high rise is if your dog can poop on the balcony, you can just kick it off the ledge. And then that person's like, hey, I just got kicked out of my apartment. You know? and like that's the work that like decades later
that flickers back to life.
Hey, it's shit kicker, that idiot.
Yeah.
It's, things have, we got silent film actor Brad Pitt on one end, and then we got, I got kicked out of my apartment.
Well, I mean, you think about, like you were saying at the beginning, our windows. Every single person has a window of time that they will exist. And those windows, at the beginning of my window, was Christopher Reeve and all these sorts of people who now are no longer with us.
Yeah.
And we have sort of these newer sorts of things also. And then eventually my window will close. And it's interesting to think someone younger than me, their window has a little overlap with mine and will have things that I will never, have in my window. And there's, it's kind of beautiful to think that younger person and me both get to live in a time with a shit kicker. So, it's really beautiful when you think about it.
I think it is. I think you're right.
Dude, that was such a perfect impression, by the way. Not just the fact that he's like, hey, you can kick your dog poop off a balcony. But then there's that hard cut where it's like, well, I've been kicked out of my building. And I don't really know what I'm going to do right now. Pray for a shit kicker.
It's like, why? I see these so many times. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, that you did part A, but that you felt compelled to film it and watch it and post it. Like there were multiple tripwires along the way here.
But you know what? I bet they're happy they got kicked out because that's why their video is going to get shared and that's why they're going to make money. And they probably weren't kicked out, frankly.
Oh my God.
That's it goes right back to what we were saying. It's all performance. I mean, it's strangely, how dare I say this, but it's kind of Andy Kaufman-esque. You know what I mean? Like what is performance and what is real, I don't know, but they are benefiting.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a pretty good segue to the news that Wonder Man has been renewed for a second season.
Yay!
Pretty good segue because number one, that window is going to be a little bit longer. And also the whole thrust of that show is what is performance and what is real.
Yeah, right.
Now, Wonder Man was a show that you and I both enjoyed quite a bit. I think more than either of us expected to.
Completely.
I would go so far as to say one of the best things to emerge out of the MCU, certainly in the post-Endgame era.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been perfectly happy just leaving it where that show ended it because I think it was good.
Wonderful ending. I agree. So I am curious where it's going to go next.
As long as we have Simon and Trevor back again, I'm fine. I don't think I want to see that show without Trevor.
No, definitely not.
I feel like he's an important part of the mix. I am kind of curious how or if they attempt to weave it closer to all the other stuff. All the doomsday of it all.
See, now that's interesting. And this goes back to the letter earlier where I think they were trying to fill up Disney Plus with so much content to get subscribers that it was starting to make my eyes glaze over a little bit, and it wasn't things weren't feeling special enough for me to feel like I had to watch all of it. It was starting to feel a little samey.
Yeah,
but this was that perfect example of what if Marvel, but really not a whole lot about the superhero thing. It's really about these two people who are different generations, but they're experiencing the same sort of struggles, and watching them come together and see how much they have in common. And it was a really resonant for me, like bromance.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's what I love about that show. It did have some superhero components to it, but that's not even what I remember most.
Right.
I just remember those characters and how much I cared about them. And I would say that was a successful version of that, right? Where this is a Marvel show, but this is very different than everything else. We can do this experiment on the streaming service. Maybe this wouldn't be successful enough to be a feature film, right?
Right.
So I'm really happy that people enjoyed it as much as we did. And as nervous as I am about them continuing the story when I thought it was perfect as it is, it makes me happy to know that it was a success.
Well, I think the fact that there seems to be like a storytelling drive, right? Like it was well received enough that all the folks involved are like, we got more we can do. It isn't sort of the corporate end being like, figure something out.
Totally.
Like I think it did well enough based on the critical reception and stuff that it opened that avenue. And the great thing has been for me, a lot of people who have sort of checked out of MCU to be able to say, you know what, check this out. I think you're going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
And almost to the one, people come back to me like, oh my God, I just watched the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about that.
Yep.
Yep. Destin Cretton, who EP'd the show, of course, he's got the Spider-Man movie this summer. So I think he doesn't need to do this. But the fact that he is interested, that makes me interested.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's passionate about it. That's what I want to see. Not obligation, but passion.
What a concept. Yeah. I don't know when the second season would drop, but I would assume we're looking at least a couple of years.
Yeah, probably.
91% on Rotten Tomatoes. Quite remarkable.
Oh, that's great.
Here's another thing that's continuing. We got Lord of the Rings, baby.
Yeah, interesting. Actually, I don't know a lot about this, so I'm curious to hear you tell me about it.
Well, we were just talking about how it's okay to let stories end, and certainly Lord of the Rings had about as definitive, like 8 endings.
Sure.
Stacked up end to end to let you know, no, we're really done. But Warner Brothers, man, they got money to make between Harry Potter and this. Mm-hmm. So a couple of years back, they signed up like a multi-year deal with the rights holders, and part of that is they have to. So this is kind of what you were saying, like the Sony Spider-Man thing. They have to crank stuff out.
Interesting. Okay.
That's why a few years ago there was that animated film. Remember that anime?
Yes.
War of the Rohirrim.
Oh, so that was it was buying them time.
So that was the opposite of what we're saying, with the Wonder Man 2 thing.
Right. Oh, interesting.
That's like, just get something out there. And I reviewed that in the paper, and what I said is that it felt like running on a treadmill for 2 hours. Because you get your steps in, but you haven't gone anywhere.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. Like, did I need 2 hours about how Helm's Deep got its name?
Right.
I mean, not particularly, right?
Right.
But it did the trick because Warner Brothers has the theatrical rights, but they need to be putting stuff out every couple of weeks. Feels like every couple of weeks, every couple of years.
Yeah.
So first up in the hopper, we have The Hunt for Gollum.
Okay.
And this is a film. It's a midquel.
Oh, I was going to say, where in the timeline is this? Okay.
So this is, I believe, about 20 years before the 20 years before the Fellowship of the Ring. I think that's right.
Okay.
So in terms of the folks involved, right? It's all we got Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens. I think their presence is sort of essential for any of this stuff to be perceived with validity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Andy Serkis is directing.
Mm-hmm.
And he is starring as Gollum. And then we got Ian McKellen is coming back as Gandalf.
Wow.
He had said that Elijah Wood is going to be in it in some capacity.
Wow, that's exciting.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I mean, it could go either way, right? And then,
no, for sure. I mean, if we're going to get it at all,
right?
I'm happy to see the faces I love, I guess.
That's true. And then most controversially, perhaps, we have they are recasting the role of Aragorn.
So why is that? Is that because Viggo doesn't want to come back? Is it a story reason? Is it?
Well, I mean, Aragorn is ageless, right? Because he's like 80 or something in the trilogy, right?
Right.
So that means that he needs to look the same way he did in that original trilogy or younger, but time moves in one direction.
Right. Well, I was thinking that with Ian McKellen and Gandalf.
But Gandalf is an old guy with a gray beard. I mean, that
It's true. It's true.
You do a little CGI brush over him.
Sure.
He'll be fine. I would imagine that it's a little bit of both for Viggo Mortensen, right? Because it's a tough thing to pull off. He's got to be pushing 70 at this point, right? I mean, he was like in his 40s when he did the trilogy.
I am looking it up. 67.
Okay, so yeah, pushing 70. You know, it's not as physically, it's going to be challenging, and he can't. You know what I mean? This is not Aragorn later. So I think partially he probably perceives it as the cash grab that it is.
Yeah, he seems like the type who,
right? Like, I'm sure he would never say that, but I'm sure that's in the mix.
Yeah.
But here's my point. Stuart Townsend is going to be Aragorn in this. No.
That would be amazing.
He was originally cast as Aragorn. My point is they have to recast, and he's going to be played by Johnny, that poor bastard.
Right, I know. I mean, seriously, that character is so beloved. Vigo as that character is so beloved.
Dude, whoever is doing it, talk about he has to play the guy who, like, we have to mentally slot him into the same role as in Fellowship. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's kind of like Alden Ehrenreich.
Yes.
You know, stepping into Han Solo.
Yeah, but the difference is that 20 years in Aragorn's lifespan isn't even that much. So he essentially has to be Vigo's Aragorn. Does that make sense?
No, totally.
Right? Like with Ehrenreich, you're kind of like, well, this is like 10 years before. Yeah. So this is in terms of this universe, it's like we have to mentally be like, no, that's him. Same guy. Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be done, but good luck.
Well, and then going back to Ehrenreich, I mean, he wasn't necessarily doing a Harrison Ford impression.
Right.
You know, he was sort of doing...
He was good in that movie.
He was good. Yeah. He was doing like the essence of Han Solo. But to your point, I wonder if this person is going to have to do a little bit more of an impression.
Yeah.
You know, to slot in alongside the same actors we saw originally alongside Vigo.
You know, I wasn't going to do this, but I'll do it. I'll do it, Brian. I can do it.
Okay. Oh, you're going to do it. Oh, I see. Okay.
I think I'm the guy.
You have my vote.
People often stop me on the street. They're like, "Excuse me, are you?" Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were in the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So, you know, I'm ready.
Yeah, I will be. I'm picturing myself in this packed movie theater, and I am there, like, ready to support. I stand up and clap when you appear on screen.
Do I have your sword?
Yes, exactly.
And your axe.
My axe. Yeah. My ticket, my opening night ticket.
Sold. No, I feel bad for whoever has to do it. I think I've said on this show, I can't remember, you know, Viggo Mortensen was the very first interview I did after I moved to the Bay Area.
I was actually going to bring that up. For some reason, is a very strong memory for me also. I was so proud, and you did such a great job. And I remember he was very gracious.
Oh, man. What an experience. So this was like early part of 2004, so just after the trilogy had wrapped. This was for Hidalgo. Mm-hmm. And super nice, super thoughtful. And my wife came with me to the interview, and I mean, we had just been married for a few months at that time, and she was kind of standing to the side. And I remember I was sitting. This is an on-camera interview. I was getting mic'd up, and he was just kind of walking around, and she was standing there. And he goes, "Hey, are you okay? Can I get you a chair?" She's like, "No, I'm fine." He's like, "Oh, hold on, let me get you a chair." And he walks across the room. He picks up a chair for her, and everybody in the room is like, "What are you doing?" Like, you can get her a chair, you know. Mm-hmm. And so to this day, she's like, you know, Viggo Mortensen got me a chair.
And to whoever gets cast, would you
get my wife a chair, bro?
Yeah.
And
my mic.
And epilogue to this story is that I wrote my article, and then I reached out to the studio, to my contact at the studio. It wasn't even the studio, but I was like, oh, I had some more questions for him. Would there be a way to connect? And they're like, okay, we'll see what we can do. No promises. And they took my phone number, and then I'm at Kinko's like 2 weeks later, working on printing something out, and I get a phone call. Hi, is this Zachy? Yeah. Oh, this is Viggo Mortensen.
Wow.
And he called me from Paris. He's like, "Yeah, they said you wanted to talk some more about the movie." He was in Paris for the press tour, and I was like, "Yeah, huh," And I went out to my car, and this is pre smartphones, and I didn't have a mic set up, so I'm just sitting scribbling notes, and we
Wow.
talked for 90 minutes.
What?
90 minutes.
Wow.
Insane.
Wow. I didn't remember that.
Yeah. I mean, I the only proof I have is my memory.
Yeah. Oh, what a guy.
I know. Just a good dude.
Yeah.
And it was literally like we talked about the movie somewhat, but we were talking about, but this is like right after the Iraq War had started. He had some strong opinions on that. We were just talking about geopolitics and whatever. And yeah, just a classy guy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, new Aragorn. Talk to me for 90 minutes, then we'll talk.
Yeah. Let's see you kick a helmet and break your toe and stay in character.
That's right. That's the Two Towers, right?
Yeah.
So The Hunt for Gollum is due out in 2027.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we have another movie in development, also in the Lord of the Rings universe, and this one is it's written by or co-written by Stephen Colbert, late night host and massive Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah. Wow.
This guy's got the goods.
That's amazing. So this is an original story, right?
Well, it is. Excuse me. I'm just looking at what he has said. So basically, it is original in that it is set after Return of the King. It's set about 15 years after Return of the King, but it's based in information that comes from the books and the appendices, I guess.
Okay.
So just looking at it here. 14 years after the passing of Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin set out to retrace the first steps of their adventure. Meanwhile, Sam's daughter, Eleanor, has discovered a long-buried secret and is determined to uncover why the War of the Ring was very nearly lost before it even began. So my guess is we get that future or present sequence as a wraparound to like unseen stuff from the trilogy.
Right.
That would there's a character Tom Bombadil.
Yep.
Who people had opinions on. I didn't know anything. I haven't read the books, so people are like, "Where's Tom Bombadil?" They might be finally getting Tom Bombadil.
Well, there you go.
You know,
Bombadil heads.
Bombadildos, I think we call them. Here's my thought. Now that you're going that far past, I think it's an opportunity to carry the universe forward. So somehow Saruman survived.
Yes.
It's the first Mordor.
The first Mordor. Yeah.
and Sam's daughter, Aragorn, is missing.
Mm-hmm.
She finds she traces him. She traces him to the edge of a cliff, and then he turns around, and then credits.
Okay, we got one movie there.
Yeah, give me my check, Colbert. you old so and so. Top that. So it says here. According to Colbert, the film would be based on 6 chapters that were not adapted in The Fellowship of the Ring. 3 is Company, A Shortcut to Mushrooms, A Conspiracy Unmasked, The Old Forest, In the House. Oh, there you go. In the House of Tom Bombadil, and Fog on the Barrow Downs. All right.
Well, isn't that funny? I mean, knowing the fan that he is.
Yeah.
That's funny that sort of to your point where people were like, how could you not have Tom Bombadil?
Yeah.
In the Lord of the Rings story, and he, all these years later, justice for Tom Bombadil.
He's the biggest Bombadildo of them all.
Yes.
All this time.
Yeah.
So that would be, I'm assuming, like 2029.
Okay.
Right.
Well, as his show wraps up shortly, it looks like he's going to be getting busy pretty quickly.
Yeah. Hey, I'm glad,
I think that's great. Yeah.
He's keeping busy.
Yeah. Like he's had a crazy run in so many different formats, right? The sort of playing the fictional character Stephen Colbert, and then he got to be actual Stephen Colbert and host Late Night, and now he's going to write a screenwriter be a screenwriter for a Lord of the Rings blockbuster. It's what a amazing career.
Of course, if David Ellison is able to complete his purchase of Warner Brothers, he may get to fire him again.
That's true. That's true.
So let's see, how many times in one lifetime can Stephen Colbert's dreams be crushed?
Tune in to find out.
Jeez. But we're not done with Lord of the Rings yet. There's also that separate Lord of the Rings. That's the television show that's on Prime Video.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, most people have that reaction.
I know. I watched, I want to say most of first season. Totally thought it was perfectly fine.
Cromulent.
And then, cromulent, exactly. And then I just fell off and didn't miss it.
It feels like that's a lot of people. Yeah, I that's definitely me. It says, I'm reading Dark Horizons right now. It says viewership was huge for the debut. The first season watched by more than 100 million globally by the end of 2022. Wow. Prime Video's most watched series ever. However, the season also saw disappointing completion rates, and initially its second season numbers weren't good. Still, it performed strongly over season. By February 2025, the second season became Prime Video's most watched returning season by number of hours watched, and completion rates were noticeably higher. But, I hate every single thing I just read there.
Sure.
Like, a number of hours watched and completion rates, and we're trapped in like the Wall-E world,
Right.
I hate all of that. Anyway, it says here from the Ankler's Leslie Goldberg, gone into where things stand at Prime Video under the new leadership of Amazon MGM. They confirmed that the series is still slated to complete its 5-season, 50-episode run.
Wow.
The reason for that is because if they don't do that, Amazon would have to pay the Tolkien estate a kill fee of $20 million per season if they don't stick to that plan.
Wow.
And that's the reason that art should exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of legally mandated kill fees.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. This episode's been a ride.
It really is.
Just a whole roller coaster of feelings about art.
Well, in that vein, and you didn't know we were going to talk about this, Ryan Coogler is set to executive produce an Animorphs TV series currently in early development on the Disney Plus service. And what I love about that is that it reminds us that Ryan Coogler is quite a bit younger than us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? Because if you remember, he EP'd the Space Jam sequel also.
Oh, I didn't, because I don't remember anything about that, but yeah.
You get these periodic reminders, like Animorphs. I mean, you're aware of it, right?
I know the name, and that's it.
That's about it. I remember these frankly horrifying like covers that depict these kids turning into animals, and I'm like, well, that's nightmare sauce,
Okay, I'm Googling it now.
But I have like young cousins who loved it.
Okay.
So I just kind of love like
time.
Ryan. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like, speaking of windows, our windows closing, but Ryan Coogler got his Animorphs window open.
Holy cow, this is not what I was picturing at all. This is kind of horrifying.
It's horrifying, right?
I thought it was going to be like some sort of Power Rangers Voltron thing.
No.
But
it's these weird, pre-CGI morphs on these covers. Yeah. I remember seeing those at like Walden Books, being like, well, not reading that, obviously.
This is, yeah. I wish I could share what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, well, I mean, great. I'm sure the stories are fun, obviously, if they've lived on. Hey, actually, I just texted you one that you have to look at.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
This guy, it's a little small, but this guy turning into a dog. And then the dog's eyes.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
What, though? You get the guy who like made Black Panther and Sinners and whatever, and he gets this cool concept, an interesting concept. He's going to make something interesting.
Yeah, and again, I kind of love that he's willing to put his name on something like this that he obviously has some affinity for.
Yeah, and isn't he also doing a reboot of X-Files?
That's right. Yeah. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
I'm sure that will pass without any comment. Zero controversy whatsoever. Everything will be just fine, right, Brian?
Yeah, mark my words.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, hey, we covered a lot of ground this week.
Yeah, we did. This is nice. Nice little catch up with movie news and everything.
Nice to do that. And hey, if anybody listening has any thoughts on any of the wide range of topics we discussed this week, you can email us with those at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast, and message us there. If you're listening to the show on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment, because we do read those on the show. And hey, if you like what we're doing, please go to Apple Podcasts, leave a review, leave a star rating, do the same at Spotify. We also have a Patreon page, Brian.
Yes, if you head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and hit subscribe for only $5 a month, you'll find every commentary we've ever done and every episode moving forward absolutely ad-free. We also have bonus conversations, as we mentioned earlier, that are dropping over there about twice a month, and just random topics that we couldn't fit into the episode, but that we had a lot of fun talking about. You can find those over there. Our free feed will always be available, but this is our way of providing what we believe is the most satisfying way to enjoy the show. So no random ads or interruptions butting into the conversation. Plus, your subscription goes a long way in helping to support us and helping to sustain producing the show. So if you're interested and able, please head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and subscribe. We'd be very grateful.
And if you're looking for me online, you can find me on social media at Zacky's Corner. That's ZAKIS Corner. You can also find my reviews at the San Francisco Chronicle and also at the Wrap and IGN. What about you, Brian?
You can find episodes I've written of Puppy Dog Pals and Young Jedi Adventures streaming on Disney+.
And with that, on behalf of my partner, Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been Movies Film 341. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome